All right, third graders, we have learned about sugar skulls and of Day of the Dead and their significance to the Latino and Hispanic culture. Today we're going to create our own. So you're going to get this template with the sugar skull already drawn on it, or a skull. We're going to transfer this to a nice thick piece of cardstock. This is going to be important when we add some details later on. So in order to get this transferred, I'm going to show you a technique that's you can use all the time for transferring an image from one space to another. So you're going to actually take this. This is going to be on one side and then this will be on the other. You're going to flip it over, and using the flat side of your pencil, you're just going to kind of make a nice thick mark because you want more of that pencil lead on the back of the paper, and I'm marking where I see the line on the front side. So as I'm kind of going around, I'm just using that flat side, and you notice how it's really thick. I want to have that because if I don't get exactly on the line, it should transfer. What I'm basically trying to do is get a good amount of this pencil lead on the back so that when I push down, you'll see in a second, when I push down with my pencil, when I flip it over, it will transfer. Okay. So let's say I did that whole thing. And when I do the teeth, I just kind of go over all the teeth. You're just using that flat side of the pencil. I'm not scribbling. I'm just making sure that I get all of that. I want more of that pencil lead on there, and I'm just using the flat side. Okay, so when I have it done, it kind of looks like this. It's kind of scary, actually. When I flip it over now, I'm going to put it right on top of my paper, and I'm going to transfer using the point of my pencil. So when I transfer this, I'm just pushing down with my pencil on top of that line. I'm going slowly. And what happens is that point will push into the lead on the back and it transfers it. So I'm going to do this and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, so now I've gone over all of these lines and you can see, well, you can't really see, but I've gone back, and sometimes I go over one twice if I forgot, because you can't really tell where you've gone over. Just make sure you go over all these lines, and then don't move the skull until you're finished. So once I take this off, the image has transferred to my paper very lightly. You can see it's not real dark, but that's great. I can just keep this. I can see where the lines are. If I want to go back, I can go back and add some. And I'm going to actually take a Sharpie now and just outline those lines. So with a thin Sharpie, we're going to outline our sugar skull lines nice and slowly. And that technique you can always use for something that you can't trace. Like I can't see through this since it's such a thick piece of paper. I couldn't just take this behind it and trace it. So that's a really good way to transfer an image without reversing it to your paper. All right, so I'm going to pause this now and we will continue to work on it in a minute. Okay, so now I decided instead of using the thin Sharpie, I didn't like how that looked. I wanted my line to be a little bit thicker, so I switched to a thicker Sharpie, and you can decide how you want to do that. Once you've got that traced, then you're going to get some ideas. I've got these handouts for you to look at for designs. This is the funnest part about these because there's so many cool little designs on them. A common theme though you see is they are symmetrical. So if I do something on one side of my sugar skull, like this one has a flower over here, try to do the same thing on the other side. The things that are in the center, you can just do one of. Like a lot of times they have some design right here in the top of the skull or in the middle of the forehead. That's gonna be, you just have one design of that. But the things that are on the outsides, like if you have something on one side of the mouth, you'll have the same design on the other side. And do your best with that. Sometimes it's hard to make it exactly the same, but we're going to be using pencils for most of this, and we'll be adding color with some Sharpie, and then we'll get some jewels and some kind of sparkly things to glue to it as well. You don't have to worry about the background space. We're not going to worry about that right now, but then just go ahead and once you have your designs drawn, you will take some colored Sharpies, and I'll get those for you, and you will just trace those and color those in on your own.